everyone, I'm Lady Teddy. I'm going to be reading to you guys from Magium, which is a text-based choose-your-own-adventure story app game that is free. Free, and it's on both Android and iOS, and I highly recommend you all download it for yourselves if you're interested in the story. Currently, we are in the middle of Book 2, Chapter 11, our third reading of Chapter 11, so I know that you guys, there's going to be a lot of people here who don't know what exactly is going on. I love the emotes. I know, and if people have any questions, feel free to ask. If you don't want to play it for yourself, then all of my previous playthroughs, my previous readings are on YouTube in a Magium playlist. But I highly recommend you guys download it for yourself. It's an amazing story, and there's a ton of different playthroughs that you can do for it. That even I haven't done all of them, so if you guys do download it for yourselves, please talk to me about it. Currently we are doing a smart good playthrough, so if it is a good or a smart choice, then I will generally make the decision for us, but if it's just conversational or general directional, then I will allow you guys to participate if you so want. I know that there's a lot of people I know that there's a lot of people who just like relaxing and falling asleep, and if that's the case, then that's totally okay. There's no need to participate. Did it block something? Do the... Huh. If you like this content, go check out. You just like... Alrighty, yeah, you're totally fine. These streams usually are pretty chaotic as I'm trying to read and then also trying to interact with chat. So what I do when I do if it's conversational, just directional, then I'll let you guys do or participate. I will read out what the choices are, and then I will give y'all about a minute. If people do want to participate, after that minute is over, I will go with whatever the majority of you guys want to do. If no one says anything, then I'll make the decision for us. And again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. I don't mind trying to summarize what's going on or who someone is. So, without further ado, here we are. Did I miss anything during my spiel? Twitch.tv/LadyTeddy. That is, yes. Although I would assume that if there's people that are watching my stream right now, they don't need that link. Unless this is for my YouTube channel, in which case the link should be on my YouTube channel for Twitch. Anyways, thank you. Should have told them to check out the link under it. Everyone act actual. Oh, you're just being goofy. Gotcha. I do have a Discord and stuff, if anyone would like to join. Also, Infrapink Lizard, I don't think I said hi when you joined, so hello, Infrapink Lizard, how are you? So what's going on right now? They were just basically ambushed by the god of time, who is putting them through these trials where they have to basically relive their worst memories. He sent them back in time to relive their worst memories and didn't give any instructions, and it turns out what they need to do to get out of the trial is to redo exactly what happened in the past. And the god of time harvests energy from their negative emotions throughout it. And the main character, Barry, has completed his trial, and now a character who is able to sort of tap in they're now watching one of their party member, Kate's trial, as she's reliving when she was in an experimental torture camp as an orphan, as a child. They also, Araka, the character that decided to... It's actually fans? Yeah, only space fans. Only, yeah, there's a space in the middle. There's only fans there with that link. Hello, Woodjello, how are you? Yeah, it seems like anyone who clicks on that link might need to cool off, so... So Araka, who's the character who put them into the Magium to watch this. Thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you joining. Welcome to the Toy Box. This entire trial has been being run through the Magium, which they don't know what that is, and apparently the Magium doesn't want to be outed for what the Magium is, because when Araka was going to tell him, the Magium almost erased them from existence, and it was scary, and now they're trying to figure out how to get out of this trial so that they're no longer connected to the Magium. 48%? It's not too bad. It's just curious, right? Innocent curiosity. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording now. Okay. Super young, you can't believe I was the 26th president. I mean, you never know. Some people have argued with me that I found the Fountain of Youth. Kate? Meredith says. You mean your best friend from the beacon that you once told me about? Allow me to explain, Lady Meredith. The bearded Lasathi says. He then points towards Kate with pure hatred in his eyes. This reject was trying to interfere with our process of re-education, the Lasathi says. Re-education? Meredith asks. Precisely, the Lasathi says. Those four orphans that are standing over there have broken our rules, and they must be re-educated so that they will no longer cause any problems. But this reject was trying to give us orders. She was telling us that we have no right to take the orphans away with us. Collab, hello, welcome in. How are you? Sorry that you woke up at 4 a.m. Unless that's a good thing. What exactly is this re-education process that you keep telling me about? Meredith says. The re-education process is an extreme measure that we take against those who are caught trying to break our rules more than once, the Lasathi says. All of those rule breakers will be taken to a special room, and they will be tortured repeatedly for the duration of a few months until they will be made completely obedient. The brainwashing techniques that we use are of the highest quality, and they are meant to ensure that every ounce of free will is completely eradicated, while leaving their intellect intact, so they can still understand and follow our orders. Charlie Chard, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. Hope you're having a good day or night. Thank you. You're the hydration guy, you go to random streams and make them drink. Alrighty. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. Hydration is important. The children that pass through the re-education process usually stop interacting with their peers altogether, and they rarely ever talk unless they are directly asked a question by us. In other words, they become the perfect test subjects. Our re-education technique has been refined throughout the years, and we are very proud of the results it has given us, especially in the last few months. Oh, goodbye. Have a really good rest of your night, Raynar. Again, thank you for the raid. I appreciate you. I hope you have a really good rest of your night. Oh. Did someone else say goodbye? Oh, I did miss things. Phoenix Fire Critic, hello, welcome in. Rebrainwashing. Re-education. For the rule breakers. You're watching my stream, but other than that, it's bad. You're starving. You don't have anything. Oh no! You should definitely go try and find something to eat. Oh, you were talking about that hydration guy. Gotcha. In a faraway zone and being 4:30 a.m. nothing. Oh no! That's awful. I'm sorry. I hope that, maybe it's worth trying to go back to sleep until things are open. Melody, hello, welcome in. No worries about being late. You're allowed to show up whenever you want if you want to. I appreciate you being here regardless, and good luck with your studying. Sweet dreams, Teddy. Go fix the fairies. Make sure that they're safe to eat. You dare say all of this to my face? Meredith says with a furious look in her eyes. And you even present these barbarities to me as if they were some sort of accomplishment deserving of praise? What in the God's name is wrong with you? These are all children. How is it possible to be this cruel? When I saw how the experiments are run in this place, I already had my doubts, but I never thought you would go this far. On Fire, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Just listen to the sultry tones of Teddy Roosevelt. My pleasure, On Fire. Thank you for joining. I'm glad that you find my stream comfy. But, Lady Meredith, the bearded Lasathe says, Lord Hexel has already approved. I don't care what Lord Hexel did or did not approve, Meredith says. Give me all of your names, and give me a list of all your procedures. Bring them to me now. If I see any more insane techniques like this written in your documentation, I'm going to cross them all out, and if you ever dare to use them again, you will answer not only with your job, but with your life. Do you understand? Yes, madam, the Lasathe says reluctantly. I will bring the documents to you at once. Some leftover lasagna. Ooh, lasagna sounds good. And the rest of you, Meredith says while looking towards the other Lasathi. I will hear your sides of this story right now. You'd better not skip any important details. I don't think you'd want to anger me any further. Well, wow. That was a pretty interesting development, Araka says. Isn't Meredith the Lasathi's current leader? I wonder how their management has changed in the years since she took over. I'd say not much, given what we've heard from Golmik. What I'm wondering is if she had a hand in shutting down the beacon. Well, Diane is no longer wearing a collar, so some things have definitely changed. I feel like good Smartberry would do any of these, so if there's anyone that would like to weigh in on 1, 2, or 3, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will make a decision for us in about a minute. Alright, I see 3 votes for 3 and 1 vote for 2, so we're gonna go with 3. Zero is when water freezes, 20 is room temperature, 36 is body temperature, 100 is water boiling. Well, Diane is no longer wearing a collar, so some things have definitely changed. Oh, you've met her recently, Araka says. Yeah, and she said that she was working with the Lasathi of her own free will. I say. It didn't really seem like she trusted the Lasathi she was escorting at the time, but from what I heard her say, it looked like she was at least considering Meredith to be her ally, at least. Araka, Aluna says, don't you think we should be focusing on escaping this place instead of having casual conversations? I am focusing on escaping, Araka says. The only reason why I'm continuing with the ritual is to calm my nerves while I try to make an escape plan. Why can't we just go out the way we came in? Aluna says. Because I'm not sure it's safe, Araka says. Normally, I would just waltz right in here without a second thought, but this carelessness of mine is what got us into this mess in the first place. Now, I'm double checking and triple checking everything. As long as we stay here, we're fine. But if we try to exit without taking any precautions, we may alert the Magium by mistake. You think the exits could be booby-trapped? Aluna says. I don't know, Araka says. I'm not sure of anything anymore. I thought that the Magium was supposed to remain in a state of constant hibernation unless you tried to mess around with the really important stuff like the time when Mempher banished me from the magical plane. I didn't think that it would wake up just from me trying to reveal its true nature. But now that I woke it up, I'm not sure how long it will stay up, or what are the extents of its capabilities. We are going to keep spectating rituals as long as it takes, until I can be absolutely certain that the way out is clear. So you like the stream RPG reading out loud? Yes. I'm glad that you like it. I mean, it is a choose your own adventure book, but it's also like it's based off of it's based off of D&D, like inspired. It's got stat points and everything. So it could be considered an RPG as well. Role-playing game. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's free if anyone wants to download it for themselves. Okay, fine, Aluna says. Do what you think is best. While we were talking, Meredith was just getting done with interrogating the Lysathi, and she's sending them on her way. When you see the caretaker who was bringing me the documents, tell him to come by my temporary office, Meredith tells the Lysathi, who are now leaving the room. She then turns towards her Lysathi bodyguards. Go on ahead, she tells them. I'll be with you in a second. As her bodyguards are leaving the way they came in, Meredith approaches Kate, and she bends over so she can talk in a low voice in her ear. What you did back there was very brave, Meredith says. But bravery by itself is worthless unless you also have the power to enforce your own ideals upon others. Remember this advice. She then taps her lightly on the shoulder, and she goes to follow her two bodyguards out of the room. Shortly after Meredith leaves, the whole room gets covered in a bright white light, and as soon as the light is gone, I realize that we are now situated in Kate's holding cell, where Kate is also standing somewhere beside us, looking around her confused. Ah, Araka says, I think I get it now. What she needs to do to complete the ritual is to no longer intervene and to let that caretaker rescue only the children that he got to save in the original timeline. That's going to take her a while to find out, I guess. Alright, let's move on to the next scene. We then get transported to Diane's room, where we see Kate trying yet again to convince her friend that she knows some information from the future and that they can escape the beacon together. This isn't the first time I've been sent back, Kate says. I can prove to you that I'm coming from the future. I know exactly when the caretakers will bring our meals and what we will have for breakfast. I know when the caretaker who wants to help us escape will contact us, and I know what he will say. I know many things, and I also know that Olivia is an informant for the Lysathi. We can't let her know about our escape plan, or she will tell them immediately. I'm going to try and convince the others myself. But you need to be the one to tell your brother about this. He won't trust anyone else. Do we know the temporal mechanics scheme of the setting? What do you mean? Are you asking what's going on right now? If you're really serious about those things you said, Diane says, then give me a list of everything you know, and I'll make sure to give it to Jason as soon as possible. I'm sure he would be much more inclined to take you seriously if he sees the proof with his own eyes. Don't worry, Kate says. You'll have the list. I'm going to make sure that everything goes right this time. I won't fail again. Oh, she will fail again, Araka says. I have no doubt about that. Let's see if we can speed things up a bit, because there are going to be a lot of rescue attempts to go through. Okay, so what's going on right now? You're talking about what's going on in game right now, with, like, time and everything. They are being put in a time-based trial by a being that gathers energy from negative emotions, so they're not actually traveling through time so much. Well, Kate is the one who's in her trial right now. Kate does not know that Barry, Aluna, Flower, and Araka are watching. They're just sort of observing because they've already completed their trials. So the requirements, like, it's not going to affect anything in the future because it's not real. Like, they could still die in their trials, but it's not real. So anything they do won't affect the future, and what they're being put in situations where they're basically reliving their biggest regret or their biggest their biggest regret, their biggest mistake, their worst memories, and they have to basically have that memory recreate, like, to pass the trial. They need to allow the events to happen exactly as they happened in the actual past, but they don't know that. So they go back into this time where their biggest mistake, their biggest regret, their worst, like, their something that has a lot of negative emotions, and they think, oh my gosh, this is my chance to fix everything, to undo the past, to undo this mistake. And so as soon as they reach a certain point, the trial will reset back to where they've initially entered, and they think, maybe I didn't do it right, and so they just keep trying. Yeah, literal hell. It's bad. Barry's trial was when he went back in time to when his sister was possessed by a monster, a banshee, and they didn't know. And so then when she awakened, because there's an incubation period, when they awaken, they kill everything around them. So he had to go back in time. Yeah, I know. He had to go back in time and allow his sister to kill his parents before he was allowed to kill her, rather than kill her before she killed his parents, which is what he tried the first time. Yeah, it's a pretty messed up situation. Let's all pretend it's a flashback episode and go to our happy place. Yeah, Kate was raised in an orphanage that was not actually an orphanage. They just took children that people didn't care about and then used them for experiments to try and create artificial mages. And she's going back in time to when there was an opportunity to escape, but they thought that it was a test, so she didn't go with them. So what she's trying to do is convince all of the children that it's not a test and it's a real escape, so that they can all escape together. But what she has to do is not do that. Are we leading Barry to win a mage tournament when he's a normie? Pretty much, yeah. The only thing that's special about him is he is a half Lysathi, which he didn't know about, and he has a stat device, so he can get special abilities and stuff. Oh, and he has like a lot of research under his belt. We then are... okay. I won't fail again. Oh, she will fail again, Araka says. I have no doubt about that. Let's see if we can speed things up a bit, because we're going to get a lot of rescue attempts to go through. She then began to show me the key events of what happened next, except this time around, all of the actions were summarized much more succinctly, and in an order to paint a larger picture. For the first few attempts, Kate tried to focus on two things: finding the elementalist sibling, or getting the elementalist siblings on her side, and trying to convince the other orphans to follow her escape plan, without letting Olivia know. Every time when she was flung back in time, Kate would try and convince Diane and her brother that she was coming from the future by letting them know about very specific things that were going to happen just before they happened. This was enough to convince Diane, but Jason was always skeptical, no matter how many details she was providing them, and he thought she was either using tricks to find out the information or was getting some really lucky guesses. Convincing the other orphans to follow her rescue plan was even harder because she couldn't risk telling them about her travels through time out of fear that they might give this information to the Lysathi. Since she couldn't really provide any genuine proof that the Lysathi caretaker trying to help them was actually trustworthy, the children would only get more suspicious every time she insisted that there was nothing to worry about. Therefore, by the end of the day, Kate would either get ratted out to the Lysathi by one of the orphans, or she would simply get sent back in time without making any notable progress. It took Lysathi many tries to finally find a way to get everyone on her side and to enact their escape plan flawlessly. But what she didn't know was that this was only the beginning of her trial, since saving the orphans was the exact opposite of what she needed to do if she wanted to complete her trial. Wow, I say, as we are now watching Kate struggling to find her way out of her time loop. I didn't expect her to repeat the trial so many times. She must have spent at least a few weeks in this place, if not more. How much time has passed in the real world while Kate's been doing all this stuff? Probably only a minute or so, Araka says. Time flows completely differently in these worlds. Time flows completely differently in each of these worlds that you people were sent to. The dwarf, the mute girl, and the revenant already finished their rituals. The healer is still busy with his, though. So, are you any closer to finding a way to get us out of here safely? I say. It's hard to say, Araka tells me. I've been making progress, but there's still a lot of verifications that need to be done. Like I said, I'm not doing anything until I can be absolutely certain that there are no risks. Right, I say. As we keep watching Kate go back in time over and over again, her tries seem to be getting more desperate with each new time loop. She is now trying to save even Olivia from the beacon, because she is under the impression that the reason why time is repeating itself is that she didn't manage to save every single one of the orphans from their prison. Her tries have gotten her captured numerous times, but luckily for her, even in the cases where she didn't get rescued by Meredith, the time would always reset itself at the end of the day, so the Lisathi never managed to finish their preparations for her dissection, or her re-education process, before she was sent back. After many more attempts, Kate finally managed to get everyone out safely, including Olivia, although time would obviously still keep repeating itself, even in the most perfect possible scenarios. The optimism that could be seen on Kate's face after the first few successful rescue attempts was now gradually turning into despair, as she was slowly starting to suspect that completing her ritual would require a completely different course of action on her part. Evil Rafis, thank you for the lurk. Araka says. I think she's finally starting to get what's happening here. I'm still expecting her to be in denial about it for at least 5 more time loops, though. Anyway, never mind that. What's more important is that I may have actually found a proper way out of here. But I need to time it perfectly. Get ready to experience some strong nausea, because our comfort will be the very last thing on my mind when we escape this place. After Araka finishes her sentence, I feel a strong headache all of a sudden, and then we all get transported back to our real world in the blink of an eye. Once we return to our regular non-transparent bodies, Once we return to our regular non-transparent bodies, we take a look around and see that we are still standing in the middle of the same forest where we were when our ritual started, next to all of our friends. It appears that the time is still frozen in this world, and that not everyone has managed to get out of their trance yet. The ones who finished their rituals, aside from us, seem to be Melindra, Layla, Hadric, and the Revenant, who are all looking at us while Darren and Kate are still staring blankly in front of them with bright, glowy eyes. We made it, Araka says, sounding both surprised and relieved at the same time. We made it! We got out of there alive! Take that, Magium, you son of a bitch. For anyone who doesn't know what just happened, I can't do fake laughter, and we've realized the echo effect makes it better. Could you maybe avoid taunting the Magium when we're still technically standing right on its doorstep? Arguably better than fake laugh. Thank you. Aluna says. Relax, Araka says. Everything is under control. I got us out of there alive, didn't I? And besides, I wasn't even insulting it. I was giving it a compliment by treating it as if it were an actual person. I thought an emo mage appeared. Actually, Araka is a 10,000 plus year old banshee spirit that is trapped in an amulet because they can't figure out how to kill her since she's too powerful, so all they could do is trap her in this amulet that is being worn around Aluna/Flower's neck. And she has 3 voices. Oh, Fears, got it. Is she? Oh, she's very bad. She's straight up evil. She actually successfully killed pretty much everyone in the party in the first book. And then they rewound time, and she was mad about it. Unless you're meaning bad as in like baddie, in which case I haven't seen her physical form, so I wouldn't know. I don't think they've seen her physical form either. But honestly, I kind of imagine that she would be. Can I stack these? Yes. I mean, you can stack other things with them. I only have one pair of elf ears though. Oh, you mean stacking it by doing it twice? I mean, that just means I'll be doing it for 20 minutes instead of 10. So... at 126. Now I need some bunny ears. One day. There's a redeem for sunglasses. Chris Coffee Consumer. Did you redeem sunglasses and I didn't see? It's called Throwing Shade. It's just for glasses though. Do you have a preference of sunglasses or glasses? No, throwing shade is to put on glasses. Thank you. Thank you, Hanfire. It will be difficult for me to read with the sunglasses, but I have fake glasses as well. I could read with these fine. Would you like these? Whoa! Where did I get these? These are bifocals. Weird. Not bifocals, but they've got like the reading magnification like at the very bottom. I was very confused as to why suddenly I couldn't see like right here. Yes, you can make me wear two. Let me pause the recording. And we're back. Next 20 minutes I will be dressed like this unless someone redeems more and then the time won't be added. Okay. Where were we? Relax, Araka says. Everything is under control. I got us out of there alive, didn't I? And besides, I wasn't even insulting it. I was giving it a compliment by treating it as if it were an actual person. You're acting as if you've already forgotten what happens, what can happen when you ignore my warnings, Aluna says in a serious tone. Would you perhaps like me to give you a small reminder by transporting us back into the world we just escaped from? It seems that Aluna's question has rendered Araka completely silent. After a few more seconds of waiting for an answer, Aluna continues. You know that I can do it, she says. You're the one who taught me everything I know, after all. All right, you win, Araka says in a somewhat panicked tone. I'll shut my mouth, okay? It was just a little gloating, that's all. You don't have to get so upset over it. Araka sounding scared, Patrick says with a grin, although I can see from the uneasy look in his eyes that he's still affected by whatever happened to him in his ritual. Now that's something you don't see every day. If you think she's scared now, then you should have seen her earlier. Trust me, if you'd have gone through what we just did, you'd be panicking like that too. Actually, you have a pretty uneasy look too. Did something happen during your ritual? I feel like good smart berry would do any of these. Good berry I feel like might not do the first one, but yeah, if there's anyone that would like to weigh in, now is your chance. Otherwise I will be making a decision for us in about a minute. Oh, you started watching Bee and Puppy Cat? Yeah, it's super cute. Kaylee Strawberry, hello! Welcome in! How are you doing? Yes, I have a fireplace soundtrack going on in the background to try and make it more relaxing. Yeah, thank you so much for joining, it's good to see you. I am good. Oh, I pushed those up higher than well, whatever. I have redeems where people can make me wear ears and a halo and sunglasses, and they've realized that they stack, so. I left the stove on when my stream started, yeah. 4 hours and 30 minutes of the stove being on is probably fine, right? Right now I'm reading out loud from a text-based Choose Your Own Adventure story game app. And yeah, people are able to participate and help me make decisions, so that's what's going on right now. You could get another pair of sunnies if you'd like. So I see 1 person voted for 3 and 2 people voted for 2. If there was a mage of 10,000 years and she's scared, you would not tempt her to kill you. She's already killed you. At least once. But yeah. She is trapped in an amulet. Yellow ones? Okay. You want to be friends with her? Also, mommy? It's so goofy. Anyone who joins the stream for the first time is just... I mean, I hope not. I should take a selfie. I've got a couple of photos like this on my Instagram of you guys making me look ridiculous. Most people would stay for it. Let's hope so. Okay, so I saw 2 people voted for 2 and only 1 person voted for 3. So we're gonna go with 2 then. Trust me, if you'd gone through what we just did, you'd be panicking like that too. Well, you know me, Barry, Hedrick says. Even if I'm scared out of my wits, I still could never pass up a good challenge. Is that so? Araka says. But in that case, you must have absolutely loved your ritual, because from what I saw, to say that your trial was a challenge would have been quite an understatement. What do you know about my ritual? Hadrick says, as he regains the uneasiness from before in his eyes. More than you think, dwarf, Araka says, and I'm not talking about your trial from the god of time. I looked through some of your memories too, since they were pretty much out in the open, with you trapped in there. I saw some very interesting things while I was looking through the memories that were related to your trial. Want me to tell you what I found out? You're bluffing, Hadrick says, as I see him starting to sweat a little. You're just trying to bait me into giving away the information myself. How stupid do you think I am? Well, I don't know, dwarf, Araka says. How stupid are you? For the next few seconds, the two of them remain completely silent as Hadrick watches Araka's amulet intensely, while a few more drops of sweat form on his forehead. But seriously though, I was only joking, Araka says all of a sudden. I have absolutely no idea what's going on in your ritual. The only reason why I said all that was because you were pissing me off. And I just wanted to make you sweat like a pig. Who's the one panicking now, eh? Blasted old hag, Hadrick says as he relaxes a little. So you really didn't get to see Hadrick's ritual then? I ask Araka. Nah, Araka says. There were just too many of them for me to have time to see them all. Well, anyway, it's pretty obvious that his ritual wasn't all sunshine and rainbows either, but I guess we're just going to have to wait until he feels like telling us about it if we want to find out what it was. Personally, I don't mind all that much. It's not like we don't have anything better to do at this point than to listen to his sob story. You know what I'm saying? Not long after we finished our conversation, Darren's eyes opened. Not long after we finished our conversation, Darren's eyes lose their bright yellow color as he finally exits his trance as well. From the look on his face, I can easily tell that he's pretty upset. Oh, look, the healer is out, Araka says. How's it going, Darren? Had fun in your ritual? Darren chooses to completely ignore Araka's question, and he turns to me instead. How many are still inside their ritual? Darren asks me. Only Kate? Yeah, only Kate, I say. You can tell from the glowy eyes. I think that we need to wait for everyone to be done with the first stage before we can pass on to the next one. I can't say that I'm looking forward to it, Darren says. Where is the God of Time? Is he watching us? No. He went back to the magical plane, I say. He'll come back again at the end of the ritual, according to Araka. While Darren and I were talking, Kate managed to get out of her trance as well, but the expression she has now on her face is very painful to watch. Leaving aside her strong feelings of sadness and regret that can be easily seen at a first glance, I think it's the look of resignation from her eyes that really shows just how much this ritual has gotten to her. Realizing that she is no longer alone, Kate immediately changes the expression on her face to one of only extreme fatigue, as she asks us the same questions that Darren asked only a few moments ago. Is everyone else already done with their ritual? Kate says. And where is the God of Time? I thought that he was supposed to oversee these trials until their very end. The first stage of the ritual is done. And now we're waiting for the second, Darren says. The God of Time apparently went back to the magical plane, and he'll only come back at the end. If that's true, then maybe we can make some plan against him, Kate says. Maybe we can find a way to sabotage his ritual while he's not here to keep an eye on us. You can't sabotage the rituals, Melindra says. Eden has tried and failed in the past. If he couldn't do it, then how could we? Eden isn't all-knowing, Darren says. Just because he failed doesn't mean we won't succeed. Oh, Melindra says. Then how do you propose we start this sabotage? We'll figure something out, Darren says. If you say so, Melindra says. If you're looking to sabotage the ritual, then I might be able to offer some assistance. We hear Rose's voice all of a sudden. We'd all been ignoring the Revenant up until this point, but now that she's spoken to us, everyone's eyes immediately turn to her. And why would we want any help from you, Revenant? Darren says in a disgusted tone. Because this ritual is as much of a problem for me as it is for you, the Revenant says. And also because, as much as I've tried to avoid it, there are traces of your friend Rose within me that will always be a part of who I am. At the very least, I know that Rose would have wanted us to work together despite our differences, since nothing would have been more important to her in this situation than to make sure that you are safe. Don't you dare talk about Rose as if you knew her, you undead monster, Darren says with fury in his eyes. Who are you to say that what she would have wanted after you stole her body and went to serve some sinister god while leaving her siblings to cry their hearts out at home due to their sister's death? I don't care if you look like her or if you have her memories. You will never be anything other than an empty shell. You will never be anything like Rose. Do you understand? Never. The Revenant seems to have been genuinely hurt by Darren's words. The expressionless look in her eyes has completely changed, and now it looks as if she wants to ask him a question, but she's hesitant to speak. Did Susie and Kevin really cry when they found out that... The Revenant starts to say, in a somewhat shaky voice, but Darren does not let her finish her sentence. Don't call them by their names, he shouts furiously. You are not Rose. Don't pretend to be her. If you really cared about Rose and her siblings, then you would leave her body so that we could give her a proper burial, and that way Susie and Kevin would at least get to say their goodbyes. That is not something I can do, the Revenant says as she regains her previous expressionless look on her face. I live to serve the god of death. Only he may choose to end my life. Nobody else. Then you are our enemy, Darren says with a dark look in his eyes. We've already seen what the god of death's followers are capable of. There's no reason for us to think that your god would treat us any differently than the god of time. There's no way we could ever trust you. The god of death has no quarrels with your group, the Revenant said. But what if he did? Darren asks. What if he'd order you to kill us all one by one? Would you do it? If the god of death would ask me to kill you, then I would do so without hesitation, the Revenant says, without changing her expression at all while she is talking. It is not my place to question my master's orders, whatever they may be. Then you are too dangerous to be left alive, Darren says as he begins to approach the Revenant. I will end your life here before you have the chance to betray us. Darren, wait, Kate says. You can't kill her. There is still a part of Rose that lives within her. You saw how she reacted earlier when you told her about Rose's siblings. Maybe there's still a way to turn her to our side. Maybe we can... Zircon, hello, welcome in. How are you? No, I did not. I was fighting Undine for about 2 hours with no progress, and then I switched to Magium. But welcome in. Also, okay. Rose is gone, Kate, Darren says with a serious tone in his voice. You can't keep living in the past forever. You need to let her go. It's what Rose would have wanted if she were still alive. Rose would have never wanted you to kill this person, Kate says. She would have wanted us to work together. You know this. Sorry, Kate, Hadrick says, but I'm going to have to agree with Darren on this one. We don't know what the God of Death is planning. For all we know, he may well be in cahoots with the God of Time, and they are still messing with our heads as part of the ritual. We can't trust anything she says. We need to get rid of her before she kills us first. Place myself between the Revenant and Darren in order to defend her. Let Darren and Hadrick handle the situation. I feel like we've already sort of allied ourselves with her when we accepted the code and everything. And I feel like good Barry would have seen her start to cry and recognized emotions and stuff. You can try and argue with me on this one if you would like, but unless someone gives me a very good reason why not, I'm going to pick this one. Y'all have about a minute. 2 hours, you would love to see that. It was... I don't know. I wasn't having a good time. I'm still new enough to gaming that being stuck on a boss like that for that long isn't fun to me. It's just frustrating, and I don't know. I feel like the people who are watching probably saw me as cranky and not entertaining. It is a hard fight. Yeah, I'm not quitting, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't all that entertaining for people to watch. Just been kind of hanging around doing nothing. Well, welcome in. I'm glad you felt like joining. Took you so long to be undone. Alright, that is comforting. Is there anyone that's wanting to weigh in? Well, you could always watch the VOD if you'd like. The perks of the VOD is you can watch it on ×2 speed. It'll only take an hour instead of 2. Mr. Kennedy, no sound alerts right now. Sorry, but welcome in. Alright, yeah, seems like you guys agree with my decision. Just wanted me to see it? Well, I saw it. Hello, Mr. Kennedy, welcome in. As soon as Hadrick stops talking, Darren resumes his walk towards the Revenant, with the sword in his hand, but before he gets to reach her, I place myself between the two of them, facing Darren. Barry, what do you think you're doing? Darren asks as he stops in front of me. What does it look like I'm doing? I tell Darren as I pull out my dagger. We're not seriously going to do this again, are we? Darren says. This isn't like that time with Aluna. The Revenant literally said she'll kill us the first opportunity she has if her god tells her to do it. She's a danger to us. Why are you defending us? Or defending her? She'll only be to a danger to us if her god turns out to be our enemy, I say. As it stands, we could really use her time powers right about now. especially if the next stage of the ritual requires us to work as a group. If we'll need to work as a group, then there's all the more reason to deal with her now, Darren says. What is to say that she won't backstab us in the middle of the trial? We don't know her true intentions, and even if we knew for sure that she won't betray us this time, this may be the only opportunity she has to face her alone. What if the next time she comes, she will have an entire team of mages given to her by the god of death to hunt us down? But what if you fail to kill her? I say. What then? Do you realize that attacking her unprovoked would be akin to declaring war on the god of death himself? Do you want us to have two gods as our enemies at the same time? It has now been 20 minutes, yes, as of 24 seconds ago. So gods in this world aren't what you think, like what gods traditionally are. They're just very, very, very powerful spirits that reside in the land, or in the realm of magic, the magical plane. And they've realized that they can harvest energy. They've taken the title God of Time, God of Death, God of whatever, even though in the case of the God of Death and God of Fate, it's not actually accurate. And they've realized that they've realized that getting followers on the earthen plane will followers, or like what the God of Time is doing right now, is putting them through these rituals to harvest energy through their negative emotions. So it's worship or negative emotions. They can use this to convert it into power. So they're not actually gods, they're just very powerful spirits that have realized ways to get more energy from the earthen plane. Regardless, you don't want two enemies like that. We won't fail if we all work together, Darren says. Darren is right, Patrick says as he comes closer to us. Even those time spells of hers must have their limitations. If we all work together, we should be able to figure out what they are. All of a sudden, a large ice wall forms itself in front of me, separating the Revenant and me from Darren and Hadrick. How about we all calm down and take a break before we do something really stupid, Kate says, with an ice-cold tone in her voice. I appreciate what you two are trying to do, the Revenant says as she steps away from me and goes to walk around the ice wall, the wall of ice, but I assure you that it is not necessary. In fact, I think that Darren and Hadrick both need to experience the futility of their actions before they'll be ready to work with me as a team. Please do not provide any help. I will fight them both myself. Those are some brave words, Hadrick says with a grin. Let's see if you've got what it takes to back them up. He then immediately rushes towards the Revenant at great speed and tries to punch her, but she just disappears right before he lands his strike, and she reappears much further away from him while looking at him with her usual lack of human emotion in her eyes. Hadrick doesn't let himself get intimidated, and he tries to dash for her yet again, even though this yields him the same results. The third time, It is Darren who tries to slash at her with his sword, but she effortlessly evades his attack as well by disappearing and reappearing like the last 2 times. What the hell? Patrick says. How do you keep doing that? I thought that the time was already frozen. It is frozen for the rest of the world, but not for you, the Revenant says. All I need is to freeze you in time along with the rest of the world, and then I'll have plenty of time to move out of your way before you get to land your blow. But these powers are not good for only defense. They're also very useful for offense, like so. She then disappears again, and this time she reappears right behind Darren, holding a knife at his throat. Do you surrender, healer? Or do we need to continue? The Revenant says. That's a pretty good bluff you have going right there, Revenant, Darren says as he puts his sword in his scabbard and then grabs the Revenant's arm with both hands, pressing her knife closer to his throat. Unfortunately, as you can see, your knife is nowhere near sharp enough to be able to break even through my meager magical protection against physical attacks. The Revenant starts to try to pull her hand away from Darren, but he keeps a firm hold on it with both his hands as he continues his monologue. On the other hand, Darren says, since you haven't disappeared from this spot already, it means that my instincts were correct and that you cannot escape someone's grasp with the use of the time freezing spell. You also don't seem to have the ability to reverse time at will, because if you did, you would have done so already. In other words, Darren now pulls on the Revenant's hand, lifting her on his back, and then he throws her to the ground in front of him, while making sure he still holds onto her as firmly as possible. You are now more vulnerable than ever, Darren continues his phrase from before as he pulls out his sword from its scabbard, while still holding onto the Revenant with his other hand. He then slashes her throat with one quick strike of his blade, and he severs her head from her shoulders in a single movement. Darren, Kate says, as she's almost about to cry. What have you done? I only did what I had to, I hear Darren saying, but all of a sudden everything in my mind becomes a complete blur, and then I have a very weird feeling that I've only just woken up from a dream. Alright. I'll see you tomorrow probably then, Melody. Thank you for hanging out. I appreciate you being here. Instead of seeing the Revenant dead in front of my eyes, I get to witness the scene where she puts a dagger to Darren's throat for a second time, except now she does not wait for him to grab her, and she immediately jumps back, making sure that she is no longer anywhere near his range of attack. Oh, you have to work, you're staying. You are also self-employed as an— oh, cool! Alrighty. That's awesome. What is happening here? Did I seriously fall asleep in the middle of the battle and have a dream where Darren killed the Revenant? Could I have gotten hit by a mind-affecting spell without noticing? I can clearly tell that this is reality, and what I saw earlier was only in my imagination. But why would I have such a vision in a tense moment like this? No, Darren says, seemingly in a state of shock as he points towards the Revenant. That's not possible. You were dead I made sure of it. Even a revenant will die if their head is cut clean off their shoulders. And yet, I saw you with my own eyes how everyone got reversed. I saw with my own eyes how everything got reversed, just like the time when Araka got out of the amulet. Who was it that reversed the time, if not you? A time reversal spell? Of course. Now I understand why I felt like I woke up from a dream. The time was only reversed for Darren and the Revenants, so they were the only ones who got to see all of the spell's effects. For the rest of us who were not caught in the spell's area of effect, it would have been as if these events never happened. The time did not get reversed as a result of a spell I cast, the Revenant says. It got reversed thanks to a trait that all Time Weavers possessed. Reversed thanks to a trait that all Time Weavers possess, which protects them from getting killed before they finish delivering their prophecy. No matter how many times I get killed, the time will always reverse itself to a point where I am safe enough to escape from peril. This is why I said that your actions were futile. Even if I were to die, you still wouldn't get to kill me for good. You're lying, Darren says. If what you said were true, then how did Rose die? Why didn't time reverse itself to save her like it saved you? The only reason why time didn't get reversed for Rose was because of the Revenant spell cast on her before she died, the Revenant says. The Magium does not care who gets to inhabit the Time Weaver's body, as long as it can still fulfill the purpose of delivering the prophecy. Given that I was already scheduled to take Rose's body after her death, there was no need for the time reversal spell to activate, so I became the Time Weaver in her place. So, Rose would have still been alive if it wasn't for you? Darren asks. Darren, Kate says as she approaches him and the Revenant, it wasn't her fault. The God of Death's follower, Zack, was the one who cast that spell. She wasn't the one who asked to be put in this body, nor was she the one who asked to serve the God of Death. We can't really blame her for any of this. She then goes over to the Revenant, and she grabs both of her hands gently as she looks into her eyes. Listen, Kate says, I'm not sure what to call you. Revenant sounds too cold, but I am also aware that you are not Rose. However, if there's anything of Rose left within you, like you said, then please, come travel with us. Forget about the God of Death. You don't really need him to control. You don't need to let him control you any longer. We can try to hide from him together, or we could fight him, or something. You don't have to go through all of this alone. The Revenant pulls her hands away from Kate, and she takes one step back as her expressionless gaze momentarily turns to one of sadness and regret. I'm sorry, the Revenant says. I'm not who you think I am. You should avoid trying to get any closer to me for your own safety. I was not lying when I said that I would kill you in a heartbeat if my master ordered me to. My loyalty towards the God of Death will always come first, and you need to understand that. If you put too much trust in me, you're only going to end up getting hurt. It is the Rose part of me that is warning you to stay away from me. Can you understand that? Yes, Kate says with a somewhat disappointed look in her eyes as she takes a few steps back. I understand. I won't try to meddle in your affairs anymore. And thank you for the warning. So, what are we going to do now? Hadrick says. Work together like nothing happened? It doesn't seem like we have much of a choice, Darren says reluctantly as he sheathes his sword. What about the god of death? Melindra says in a serious tone as she has her arms crossed. What are you going to tell him when you get back, Revenant? If he ever asks, I will tell him the truth. The Revenant says, I will tell him that I was the one who started the battle because I wanted to prove my superiority. That way, there should be no reason for him to bear any resentment towards your group. I see, Melindra says. However, the Revenant says, I do not think that the god of death will ask me anything upon my return. From his point of view, nothing will have happened, since time will remain frozen until I come back. He will likely continue to ignore me, just as he's been doing ever since I first contacted him, and I will be forced to keep waiting in one of his temples until he sees fit to give me an order. He's ignoring you? Kate asks. But why? The god of death does not trust me, the Revenant says. He thinks that I am an undercover agent sent by the god of time to infiltrate his followers, and nothing that I've said has been able to change his mind on the matter. He even tried to kill me a few times, but gave up after he saw that it was impossible to do so. Currently, I am not allowed to leave the temple that I entered when I first contacted him, and he's keeping me in the dark about most of his plans out of fear that I might leak the information to the god of time. Araka laughs. That does sound just like him, she says. Ulrich has always been very paranoid when it came to the god of time. I can only imagine how shocked he was when he found a time weaver right on his doorstep. Revenant or no, you'd better find yourself a hobby, because you're going to be sitting in that temple for a long time. Why is Ulrich so suspicious when it comes to the god of time? Can't Ulrich just read the Revenant's aura to see if she's lying like Eden does? How does the Revenant manage to come here if she was locked inside a temple? This is all new information to me as well, because I didn't take this path during my playthrough. If there's anyone that would like to help me make a decision, I feel like good Smartberry isn't really inclined for any of these. Yeah. Y'all have about a minute. Alright, 2 final answer? Okay. Can't Ulrich just read the Revenant's aura to see if she's lying like Eden does? Yeah, but good luck trying to read the aura of a Revenant, Araka says. She's an undead. Reading the flow of her aura to detect her lies will do you as much good as trying to read the aura of a rock. There's barely even any flow in her aura to speak of. Maybe there would be a chance to get a decent reading in those rare cases when she exhibits some form of emotion, but I wouldn't exactly bet money on that. We're wasting time, Melindra says. Revenant, you said that you knew of a way to sabotage the next stage of the ritual. What were you going to tell us? Well, there is a way to acquire hints about what will happen in the next trial, the Revenant says. The easiest method to obtain these hints is to make use of Barry's hearing stat, but unfortunately I was not able to communicate too much information to your group about this subject out of fear that the God of Death would overhear our discussion and come to the conclusion that I was conspiring with the enemy. I'm not sure how much of my message got through to you. Barry, did you manage to activate your stat device's secret code before the time froze? Yes, I activated it, I say. I also noticed that I still have those temporary points in my hearing stat that were technically only supposed to last for a few seconds. I'm guessing that you knew this would happen, and that's why you told me to do it? Hearing check successful, level 7. Yes, that was the reason, the Revenant says. Like I said before, the spell that brought me into this world was designed to implant a lot of the God of Death's knowledge into my mind, and amongst that knowledge there was some information about the stat devices and how they work. In short, the temporary stat boost that gets activated with your secret code is entirely dependent on a brief timer which won't set itself off as long as the world is frozen in time. However, since you managed to activate it right before the timer froze, the timer has frozen as well, thus granting you extra hearing capabilities for the whole duration of this time freezing spell. So when you called me, the time wasn't frozen yet, I say. No, the Revenant says, but I knew it would freeze in a matter of seconds because I had a few time freezing spells go off without my control right before I was put in the trance. Something similar to this also happened from the previous time I called you, except back then the time only froze once without my control, and I was not put in a trance during that time, so I knew that it was only a small test before the main event. This is why I asked you to keep your communications channel open so that I could later tell you to activate the code right before the prophecy started. Having the code activated isn't enough, though. In order for my plan to work, you would also need to have 4 points or more already invested in hearing, so that together with the bonus points offered by the secret code, you would get a level of 7 in that stat. Do you have enough points? Yeah, I already have my hearing stat maxed, I say. What do I need it for? First of all, you're going to need to get as close as you can to the place where the God of Time first materialized in this world, the Revenant says. Okay. Oh, okay, I say. Melindra, can you? Before I even got to start my sentence, Melindra had already cast her magic air currents on me, which are now slowly raising me into the air. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask, I say. Thanks. I then raise my arms into the air and I fly all the way up to where the god of time was floating when he first made his appearance. Alright, I'm here, I say, as I stop in mid-air and turn towards the Revenant. Now what? Now, I want you to focus hard and tell me if you can hear some very faint echoes coming from the area. From that area, the Revenant says, given that this is the place where the god of time first made his link to the Magium, there should be a small invisible rupture in space and time through which it's possible to hear our own voices coming from the future. You won't be able to hear them unless you block out all other sounds with your mind and focus exclusively on those voices. Can you do it? I'll try, I say. Take your time, the Magium says, or the Revenant says. The second stage of the ritual is still a long way from beginning. As I block all of the sounds around me and focus on this small area, like the Revenant said, I suddenly become aware of some barely audible voices, which are all talking at the same time. It's already difficult enough to actually hear the voices, but to also be able to make out what they are saying. I'm going to require a lot more concentration than this. I start to focus even further until I'm able to separate Xander, thank you so much for the follow, I appreciate you. Welcome in, how you doing? I start to focus even further until I'm able to separate what each person is saying. I manage to identify a few dialogues this way, but after a while I get a very intense headache and I am forced to stop. Is everything alright? The Revenant asks me as she sees me massaging my forehead while I'm keeping my eyes closed. Yeah, I say, as I'm still trying to recover from the pain. I just got a sudden headache, that's all. If you need to focus so hard you got a headache, then you shouldn't force yourself any longer, the Revenant says. We wouldn't want you to faint of exhaustion in the middle of the ritual. Did you manage to find out anything useful? Yes, I say, as I slowly stop massaging my forehead and open my eyes to look at her. There was a woman whose voice I couldn't recognize, gloating about the fact that she had cast some sort of spell on you to prevent you from concentrating on freezing time. That's about all the useful information I had. That's about all the useful information I had time to gather before the headache hit me. A spell that would prevent me from freezing time, the Revenant says. It must be a dizziness spell of some sort. Does anyone know how to cast any magical protections against dizziness? Yes, I do, Aluna says. However, I should warn you that this spell will also make you vulnerable to suggestion spells. Do you still want me to cast it on you? If it's the only spell against dizziness you have, then yes, the Revenant says. I'd rather protect myself against a known threat than worry about a threat that may never come. Very well, Aluna says. She then points her palm towards her and says an incantation as a white light surrounds the Revenant for a few seconds, which then disappears almost as quickly as it appeared. In the meantime, I head back down to the ground, and as soon as I land, the air currents around me stop moving completely. It's done, Aluna says. I finished casting the spell. Well, that's something, I guess, Baron says, but I was hoping we could find some way to stop the next trial from happening altogether, instead of just gaining a small advantage. Revenant, couldn't you try to unfreeze time for the world around us and see if that cancels the ritual? The time freezing spell around us was cast without my control, so I can't undo it, the Revenant says. I'm not sure if you realize this, but the time got frozen long before I appeared in front of you. Up until recently, your group has been frozen in time along with the rest of the world, while I've been in that trance walking for days until I managed to reach you. The only time I got unfrozen for you was when I was close enough to deliver the prophecy. Hold on a second, Araka says. You're telling me that this is the first group you visited since you entered your trance? Yes, I'm quite certain of it, the Revenant says. Why do you ask? Araka laughs all of a sudden. So you're telling me that these chumps are the ones who are going to be the most likely to influence the prophecy? That's it. Pack up your bags, everyone. This continent is doomed. What is she talking about? Darren asks Melindra as Araka is still laughing in the background. Why would we be the most likely to influence the prophecy? Are there others who will be receiving the same prophecy after us? Yes, Melindra says. You were only the first group to be visited by the Time Weaver. Once the God of Time is done with his ritual, you will be frozen in time once more, and then the prophecy and the ritual will be repeated for other groups of people as well. Not only that, but this same prophecy will be delivered to you and the others at least 2 more times before the events prophesied will come to pass in order to announce you if any progress has been made towards your goal of averting the disaster. The Araka laugh hits hard. You can't not laugh to them. I'm glad. One day I do want to learn to be able to fake laugh, but this is a good solution for now. The reason why Araka said that you were the most likely ones to influence the prophecy is because the Time Weavers always visit their targets in order of priority, which means that your group may be the most decisive role in the events to come, depending on your choices. Huh, Darren says. I'm not sure if I should be feeling reassured that we will be having a good chance of stopping the calamity, or worried that we'll likely be right in the middle of it when it happens. Either way, we shouldn't be thinking about that now. What we should be focusing on is trying to interrupt the ritual. If the Revenant doesn't have any more ideas, then maybe it's time to take matters into our own hands. Hadrick, come with me for a second. I want you to help me take a look around and see if we can spot anything out of the ordinary. Alright, Hadrick says. Lead the way. Did you really walk all the way here without any rest? Flower asks the Revenant, worried, as Darren and Hadrick are moving away from us. Aren't you tired? Don't you need to eat? I am undead, so I require neither food nor rest, the Revenant says in her usual expressionless tone. However, even if that were not the case, the trance that I was in earlier would have shielded me from any such problems. When you are inside the trance, your body is practically put in a magical stasis of sorts, and all of your bodily functions are put on hold until you are out of stasis. If it weren't for the god of time intervening in the middle of these prophecies, I probably wouldn't even have remembered any of this. Wouldn't have even remembered that any of this has happened. Oh. I see, Flower says, not being sure how to interpret the Revenant's complete lack of emotion while talking to her. Sorry to have bothered you. The Revenant looks at Flower surprised, seemingly unable to understand why she apologized to her all of a sudden. For a second, it looked as if she were about to ask her what was wrong, but ultimately she decided against it. I think I'm gonna end here. Cool. For achievements cloud. Checkpoint 1, 2. Okay. It does seem early for me, but my goal is to end by 2, and it's 2:15, so even though I normally go late, yeah. Thank you for doing this, you love listening at work. I'm glad that you were able to listen at work, Mr. Kennedy, thank you. Oh. Yeah. I mean, also same. My goal is to try and fall asleep by 3 a.m., but that rarely happens. Yeah. But anyways, thank you everyone for hanging out. It's been absolutely wonderful having you all here. I don't normally raid out when I do Magium because I know that there are people who are joining specifically to sleep or relax or just ASMR. So I'm probably just going to end, but I hope you all have a really lovely rest of your day or night or whatever it is wherever you are. Tomorrow is Friday, so I should be streaming Skyrim. So hopefully I'll see y'all tomorrow. Yeah, have a really lovely rest of your day or night or whatever it is wherever you are. You all are wonderful. I appreciate you guys so much. And, good night. There.